Okay, so first of all, thank you very much to all of you for liking this video, which I'm taking on my channel named Gaurav Kumar Jain. Fine, and if you have not yet shared the link of this video, do share it now so that the other students can also take the benefit of these free online coding classes. So let's come on this Gamelab platform. Fine, so today we are going to develop a sword fight game, and we will be fighting with some ghosts. So let's begin with adding the required sprites in this animation workspace of the Gamelab. Fine, hope you guys know about how to access Gamelab. If there is anyone who doesn't know how to access Gamelab, then let me help you out with that. So you just have to come over here on this create button, and when you will hit this create button, automatically this beautiful cascading menu is going to appear, and then you have to click on this Gamelab option. Okay, and you will be redirected on this beautiful panel. Fine, where you can make kind of games using these blocks over here. Fine, let's come on this animation workspace and add the required sprites, the sprites that we require for this game. So in order to do that, we just have to hit this plus button over here. Automatically we are going to get redirected on this beautiful animation library. Fine, now after this, what we can do, we can visit this fantasy section. Okay, and add let's add some relevant sprites. So the first sprite that I am going to add is let's take this one. This one is looking nice, or let's go for this one. Fine, so I'm done with adding a character which has a sword kind of thing in his hand, and let's rename this character to Swordman. Fine, okay, and now I am going to add two ghost sprites in this animation workspace. So again, you can visit this fantasy group, and these are a couple of good sprites you're going to come across. So I am going to make use of, let's make use of this one. Fine, and I am naming it as ghost 1. Let's add one more ghost image. So for that we need to again visit this fantasy group, and these are some of the beautiful images you're going to come across again. So from here I am going to pick up, okay, which one should I select? Let's go for this one. Okay, so I'm done with selecting two ghost images. Let's rename this one to ghost 2 and a swordman. Fine, let's come on this coding panel and define the required code which can help us in bringing these sprites on this playground of Gamelab. So when you'll run this game, you will not be able to see any of these three sprites that you have added in this animation workspace of Gamelab. Why? Because there is a certain code which you are required to define in this workspace of Gamelab in order to access these sprites over here on the playground. Now let me help you guys with the code which you guys can make use of for accessing the sprites on this animation playground. You need to come over here on this sprite section, and right on the top in this area you'll find a sprite, a block with name var sprite. Now what is this block doing? It is declaring this variable sprite. Okay, and in this sprite, this is the function that is going to create a sprite at this particular location. Okay, try to understand everything, don't memorize anything. Fine, so var is used for declaring a variable, so this is the name of the variable. If you want to name it something else, like if you want to name it sword, so you can make use of sword. If you want to make use of swordman, you can make use of swordman. It is totally your call. Now this function is going to draw a sprite at this location, fine, and that particular sprite is going to get saved in this variable named swordman. Okay, now in order to set the animation for this particular swordman, what we can do, we can make use of this second block. Okay, this sprite dot set animation. Now we need to replace this sprite with the name of this variable. Like this we can do it. Let me enlarge the size of my window so that the code can be more visible to you guys. Okay, and then let's convert it into block based coding. Now when you will come on this drop down and you will hit this direction sign over here, these are the options you are going to come across. Okay, now because I want to access the swordman sprite first on this playground, so I am going to select swordman for now. Okay, now in order to draw this sprite on this playground, see, if you'll run this game now, you will not be able to see that swordman getting reflected on this playground. Why? Because we haven't drawn that sprite on this playground. In order to draw that, we need to make use of this function draw. Okay, and inside this function you need to place this draw sprites block. So that's how you can do it. And now what is going to happen, this draw sprites function is going to draw for you this sprite that you have defined in this variable named swordman. Now when you'll run this game, you will be able to see the swordman sprite getting reflected at this point. Why it is getting reflected at this point? Because the coordinates that we have defined for this sprite over here is 200 by 200. So this playground is of 400 by 400. That is the reason it is getting reflected right in the center. Okay, now this size of this sprite is somewhat big. In order to scale it down, the best way is to come on this sprite section and make use of this sprite.scale block. You just have to pick it and drop it just after this block. Okay, now because we want to reduce the size of this sprite which we have saved in this variable named swordman, so that is the reason we need to copy the name of this variable from here and we need to put it over here. Okay, and it is not compulsory that the name with which you have saved the sprite, okay, you have to use the same name for the variable part also. It is not compulsory. If you want to name it, if you want to save this sprite in some variable named sword, you can do it like that also. So it is totally your call. Variable is a temporary storage location, where you can store something. Fine. So don't get confused, or don't just think that if you have named it like swordman, then the variable that you're going to use over here should be swordman only. Don't think like that. You can use whatever variable you want to use. Now when you'll run this game, so this is the error you're going to come across. Now why this error is coming? See, whenever you'll come across any error, if while working on in any of the labs, if you come across any error, just have a look at that error, read that thing, try to understand why that error is coming. So what it is saying, it looks like you left one of the parameters empty. And line number 3, okay, in line number 3 I have missed something. Okay, I haven't passed the parameter, the required parameter for this swordman.scale. I haven't passed a value for this. So that is the reason this error is coming. Okay, let's convert it into text-based coding and pass a value for this swordman.scale. So I am passing 0.5 for now. Let's run this game and see what is going to happen. So the size of the swordman has now uh, got decreased, and this is what we are getting as a result. Now I don't want to get it reflected over here, I want to see it somewhere over here. Let me just check out the coordinates of this point. So the coordinates are, you can if you'll bring your cursor on this playground, you will be able to see the location, or you can say the coordinates of that point on which the cursor is at present on this playground, reflecting just below this reset button, which you will be able to, which you are able to see in the left side, right? Just below the show grid, the coordinates of that point are getting reflected. So they are 87 by 306. So if I will pass something like 80 by 326, will that work? 80 by 326 if I will pass here as coordinates, and let's reduce it down to 0.2. Let's see what are we going to get as an output. Okay, so 0.2 is very small, let's make it 0.35. Now it is, I think, perfectly fine. Yeah, now it is fine. Okay, so that's how you can bring any sprite on this playground. Now if you want to control the movement of this Swordman with the help of the direction keys you have got on your keyboard, how can you do that? The best way is to make use of control statements. So I'm going to make use of this if loop for controlling, for defining a code with which we can control the movement of this Swordman. So let's do that. So I'm going to define it inside this function draw. Let's place this if loop over here. So if I will press this upward direction key, I would like to see this Swordman moving upwards. Okay, now let me reduce the size of this playground and show you something. So if I am moving this cursor in upward direction, now what is happening to the coordinates that are getting reflected below the show grid thing? So you will be able to see that the value of y is constantly decreasing and the value of x is constant. Why is it so? It is so because the movement of the cursor is taking place along the y-axis. Okay, try to understand everything. Fine, then only you will be able to make some beautiful things. So that is the reason why what is happening when I'm moving my cursor like this, the value of y is decreasing and the value of x is not changing, it is constant. Fine, and if I will let's start moving it down. So now what is happening, the value of y is constantly increasing. Now on the basis of this concept, I am going to define the code for this key down up part. Let's come here inside this if loop. Now if you want to control something with the help of your direction keys which are there on your keyboard, so what you can do, first thing is you can make use of this key down block. Okay, second thing that you can do is, see what is happening over here. I want to change the value of this, I want to change the coordinates of this sprite over here along y-axis. I don't want the value of x of the coordinates of this sprite to get affected. So that is the reason what I am going to do. I am going to take this Swordman from here and let's paste it over here and let's play with the value of y, because if I am pressing the upward direction key, I want to see it moving upwards. Fine, so the movement is taking place along the y-axis. So Swordman.y. Now because the value of y is constantly decreasing as I'm moving this cursor upwards, so that is the reason what I am going to do. I am going to pass this value for this Swordman.y. Now whenever I will press this upward direction key, the value of this is going to get decremented by 5 and the same value will get assigned to this Swordman.y again. Now let me show you what is the result we are going to get. So now if I will hit this upward direction key, so I will be able to see this sprite moving in upward direction. Okay, now some ghost kind of images of this sprite are visible to me on this playground. Why is it so? Because we haven't defined any proper background for this game that we are making. So let's do that. How? Now which block can you make use of? Can we make use of for defining a proper background for any game in this Gamelab? So you need to come on this drawing part, and here you right on the top you will be able to see this background block getting reflected. So I'm going to pick it and drop it over here. Okay, let's now the background which I have defined for this game over here is white, is of white color. Let's see now whether we will be able to see that error, or you can say those ghost images or not. So I'm going to run this game, and as you can see that sprite is no more visible to me. Why? Because I have defined this background on this sprites. First I am drawing the sprites. The first code which is going to get executed is this one. Okay, so the sprites are are going to get formed first on this playground, and after that on those sprites I am drawing a background. That is the reason I am not able to see that Swordman sprite, because it is hidden behind this white background which is visible to you right now over here. If you want to make it black, you can do it like this. You just have to pass black as a value for this background block over here, and the background is going to go black. Okay, why we are not able to see that Swordman? Because it is hidden behind this black curtain or black background. If you want to see it, you just have to cut it from here and place it above this draw sprites block, and now that sprite will be visible to you, and you will not be able to see those ghost images anymore. Isn't it amazing? I know it is amazing. Okay, so the way we have defined the code for moving the Swordman upwards, in the same way we are going to define the code for moving it downwards. So for that we just have to copy these lines of code and we can paste it over here, and let's replace this up with down. Okay, now again if I want to see the Swordman moving downwards, so again the movement is taking place along the y-axis, right? So we just have to do one thing, because when I am moving my cursor downwards, the value of y is constantly increasing. So that is the reason we need to replace this minus with plus, and now you will be able to see the changes over here. See? Okay, similarly we can define the code for controlling the movement of this Swordman along x-axis too. So let's make use of this right keyword. Okay, and here because I want to see it moving along x-axis now. Fine, this is x-axis, the horizontal one, because I want to see it moving like this. So what is happening? The value of x is constantly increasing, right, when I'm moving my cursor in the right direction. So that is the reason we are going to pass swordman.x is equal to swordman.x plus 5. Right, now when you'll run this game, this is what you'll get to see. Okay, similarly for moving it in the left direction, we just have to replace this right with left, and then we can replace this plus with minus. That's how you will be able to control the movement of this beautiful Swordman in all the direction. Right? Fine. Let's reset this game. Now I am going to define the code with which I can bring these two ghost sprites also on this beautiful playground. Fine, so how can we do that? We need to come up the way we have defined these three things for bringing this Swordman on this playground. In the same way we can define these three lines of code for bringing the ghost image also on this playground. So we are going to bring this first ghost image first on this playground, and after that we are going to define the code for bringing this ghost 2 image on this playground. So let's because in this Swordman, the Swordman sprite is getting saved. So for accessing the ghost image, we need to make use of some other variable. So I am going to make use of, why is it not working? Yeah, now it is fine. So ghost 1, and I would like to see it somewhere over here. Okay, so the coordinates of this point are 3 to 5 by 54. So let's replace it by 3 to 5, and this one I'm replacing it with 54. And let's select this ghost 1. Fine, now when you'll run this game, so this is what you're going to see. Fine, now why this rectangle kind of thing is getting reflected on this playground over here? It's because we haven't changed the name of the variable in these two lines of code. Okay, so we need to change this Swordman also to ghost 1, and this also I am changing to ghost 1. Now this is what you're going to get as an output. Fine. Now this Swordman, this ghost is facing towards this side. I would like to I would like him to face towards this left side. How can we do that? So let's reset this game and check out if we have any block in this sprite section with which we can make it possible. So is there any block which we can make use of for, okay, let's make use of this mirror Y. Fine, and see what is going to happen. So if I will put it over here, and if I'll replace this sprite with ghost 1, let's see what is going to happen. Okay, so it is for the vertical movement, right? So we don't need this one. Let's make use of this sprite.mirrorX. I'm going to replace this sprite with ghost 1, and this is what we are going to get as an output. So now it is facing towards this Swordman, right? Okay, let's copy this whole code and put it over here. Fine. Now I would like to bring that ghost 2 image on this playground. So for doing that, we just have to replace this 1 with 2. I'm replacing all the 1s with 2. Okay, and besides that, I would like to get it reflected somewhere over here. Okay, so the coordinates of this point are 306, 317, 3 to 5, let it be 3 to 5, and here I am defining 317. Let's run this game. So this is what you're going to see now. This is what you're going to get now as an output. Okay, now let's do something. Let's impart them some velocity. Okay, so how can we impart these ghosts some velocities with which we can see them moving in this left side? So for doing that, what we can do, we can make use of the velocity x velocity y component, which you can easily find in this sprite section of the toolbox. So these are the ones I'm talking about. Now if you want to see the movement of this sprite along both the axes, x-axis also and y-axis also, so you can define both these things for this sprite. If you want to see it moving along the y-axis, so you can make use of along the x-axis, so you can make use of this velocity x component. So it is totally your call. So for this one, I am going to make use of both the blocks. So let's do that. I am putting it over here, and this one I am putting it right below this sprite.velocityx. Let's replace the name of the variables with ghost 1. Fine, and this one also I am replacing it with ghost 1. Now we need to pass a value for this velocity x velocity y component we have defined in this workspace for this ghost 1 image. Alright, now if you want to see it moving like this, I want to see it moving like this so that it can hit this what we call swordman. So how can we do that? If I am moving my cursor like this, so what is happening to the value of x and y? The value of x is constantly decreasing and the value of y is constantly increasing. So that is the reason I need to pass a positive value for this velocity y component. Let's pass a negative value for this velocity x component. Fine. Okay, let's reset this game. Now when I will run this game, let's see what are we going to get. So yeah, this is how you'll get to see this ghost moving in this direction and coming towards the swordman. If you want to if you want to increase the speed, you can change the values to something like -5 +5, and now you will be able to see the changes getting reflected like this on this playground, right? In the same way, if you want to see this one also moving towards this swordman, so how can you do that? You just have to make the use of this velocity y component. Sorry, not velocity y, velocity x component, right? Because we want to see it moving the x along the x-axis. Okay, fine. And because if I'm moving my cursor in this direction, the value of x is constantly decreasing. So that is the reason I am passing a -5, a negative value for this velocity x component. Let's now see what are we going to get. So now this is what you are going to see as an output on this beautiful playground. Okay, now let's define a code for for putting a check on the collision part. When these sprites will collide with this swordman over here, I want to see them getting disappeared. They should not be visible to the user anymore. Okay, they should go disappear. How can we make it happen? Let's check it out. So in this sprite section, again we have a block with which we can keep a check on the collision part, and the name of that block is sprite.isTouching. I am going to put it right in the bottom. Let's put it over here. I'm converting it into block-based coding. Okay, let's come down and replace this sprite with the name of that variable in which we have saved the swordman sprite. So it is swordman. So when the swordman will hit ghost 1, I would like, okay, I haven't defined the if loop, right? So we need to define an if loop first, in which I can place this block. Fine. So if the swordman will hit the ghost 1 sprite, what should happen? I would like the ghost 1 sprite to get destroyed. So for doing that, we can make use of this block, which you can easily find in the sprite section of the toolbox. The name of this block is sprite.destroy, right? So I'm going to place it over here, and I would like to destroy this ghost 1 sprite. So that's how we can do it. Fine. And besides that, if you want to make it more interactive, see, the best way is to add a sound to this if loop. So for adding a sound, you can come on this world tab of this toolbox, and then you can make use of this play sound block. Let's put it over here. Fine. And now when you'll hit this drop down and come on this choose button, so this is a beautiful library you're going to come across. Let's make use of some sound available over here in this sounds library of Gamelab. So I'm going to type blast over here. This one is fine, I think. Yeah, let's select this one. Okay, now let's convert this whole code into block text-based coding, and I'm going to copy this code and put it over here. The way I've defined the collision, the way I've defined this if loop for this collision between Swordman and Ghost 1, let's define it for the collision for between the Swordman and Ghost 2 also. So that's what, these are the two changes which we are required to make over here in this copied code. Let's run this game and see whether we are going to get the required output or not. So here I go. Okay, so I got the required output, right? That's how you can make this sword game. Fine. Now how can we get those destroyed image back on this playground? I don't want to destroy them permanently. I want those ghost images to come back again and again and again and fight with this swordman. How can we do that? And how can we make this game more beautiful? That's what we are going to check out in the next lecture. Do like and share this video in your groups. Again and again I'm telling you guys, so that more and more students can come and join my channel and learn to code free of cost. Fine. Now you guys can go ahead and ask your queries if you have any related to anything which we have discussed today in this live online lecture. Thank you very much, Akriti, for appreciating the work, dear. Thank you very much, all of you, for appreciating my work. Anup Sadani, thank you very much, dear. Shubhangi, Soni. In case you come across any issue while doing this thing practically, so you guys can make use of the comment section. Just write down your issue in the comment section. Definitely I will try to reply to that query. I will try to resolve that query as soon as possible. Thank you very much for joining me in this lecture. Have a great day. Bye bye.